Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here on this hump day afternoon. I hope everybody is having a great day. We have news, of course. We have the Dallas Cowboys that have done absolutely positively nothing to fix their salary cap situation, as other teams have been cutting players and getting their house in order, restructuring deals and so forth, to get their house straight, because you have to have it done by this time, 4 o'clock this time next week. Okay, you just said it wrong again. 4 o'clock a week from today. And the Cowboys have yet to do anything at all. Haven't spoke to agents, haven't gotten any cap space. They seem to be sitting around doing absolutely nothing. And I've been literally just kind of going crazy, like, what are we doing? And so the more things change, or we're told that things are going to change, the more they really stay the same. We heard Jerry Jones talk about we're going all in. And to most people's mind, all in would be you're going to go out, you're going to bring in a bunch more people to help us get over the hump. And at the moment, with free agency starting literally on Monday, the 11th, legal tampering starts. The Cowboys aren't in a shape to start doing anything. And you have to look at this and say the Cowboys probably won't do anything the first week, including their own free agents. But one thing that we started to hear rumors of is that the Cowboys are interested in bringing Tony Pollard back, that they are literally thinking maybe Tony Pollard wasn't as bad as we thought he was, and that maybe the injuries that he had before the season, the broken leg, slowed down the performance, which you could literally say he was averaging about 3.9 yards a game early in the season, and went to he ended up with 4.1. So he was doing better the second half of the season. The question here is, are you going to try and use him the same way you did last year? Because Tony Pollard, according to the Dallas Morning News, a person of knowledge of Pollard's thinking told the Dallas Morning News the former fourth-round pick is open to returning, even if the contract from another team is slightly higher than the Cowboys offer. A team official who spoke with the news on the condition of anonymity, because the sensitivity of contracts talk, expects Pollard to get many offers as possible before talking to the Cowboys. Last year, Pollard averaged a career low 4 yards per carry. However, he set a career high in snaps, receptions, broken tackles while running the ball. Pollard gained 1,316 all-purpose yards, second most in his career. There were times that Pollard didn't show his usual burst that he had backing up Zeke Elliott, yada, yada, yada. To Jerry Jones, I think Pollard played well. Cowboys owner and general manager told Jones said, he's someone that I would have thought, looking back, would have had more, let's say, more impact for us in games and we didn't play well in. But the running game, of course, a product of not only one back, but the blocking and the complete offense. When I look at him, I have done that with our coaches and I have done that with our scouts as well. Now, here's my thinking, okay? I am not going to say that Tony Pollard isn't a good back, because he is. The thing is you can't have one tool that does it all. You can't. I'll give you an example. My dad has one of the original Shopsmiths, the Shopsmith Mark II, and then he got a Shopsmith Mark V. I think they actually have Shopsmiths Mark VI now. But what it is it's a table saw that converts into a drill press, that converts into a wood lathe, that converts into a horizontal boring jig, it converts into a disc sander, and you can buy other attachments to make it like a planer or a joiner or, any multitude of tools, which is great if you have limited space and you don't do a whole lot of work. But for me, I need a bigger table saw. I need a full-size table saw that I can put a whole sheet of plywood on without having to use outfeed tables because, the tabletop is kind of tiny, right? And, I don't want to have to flip up to, the disc sander or the drill press, drill a couple holes and put it down for the disc sander and things like that. You need a tool to do different jobs. And when you're a jack of all trades, as they say, you're a master of none. Tony Pollard, his skill set, yes, he is a running back. He can run anywhere on the field. But what he does best is getting the ball in space. When you had somebody else doing the running between the tackles, and he was not overworked, as in 20, 25 carries, when he was getting 12 to 15, his yards per carry were better. And this is where the Cowboys don't understand that you have certain players that need to play certain positions. The Cowboys quite often will talk about position flex. For them to take Tony Pollard, what he did great, and say, okay, now we need you to be a first down back that's going to take punishment in the middle, he's getting battered and bruised and losing his speed and his burst. And he's not that capable of a back of being able to take the punishment in the middle. And see, this is where the NFL, they have devalued the running back as a single person back. Let me explain that. When it was the days of Emmitt Smith, okay, and Emmitt Smith got all the carries, or Eric Dickerson, or, any of the great backs of Barry Sanders. The other guys weren't getting on the field. Those days are done. What you have to have now is multiple backs. You're going to still end up spending a good bit of money with the multiple backs, but you're able to keep them fresher. One of the biggest problems we've had with Zeke Elliott was because he was the all-time back, that he ended up getting 300-plus carries, that by the time you get to the playoffs, you've taken so many hits, you're not the same player you are that you started the season with. Hence, your performance goes down. If you have multiple backs and you can lessen the load, then they're going to be fresher come playoffs. Their bodies will be. And if you're bringing back Tony Pollard, and he says he's open to taking less money than from other teams, and we saw Amari Cooper do that, the question will be is, what is less money? I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the $10 million that we were talking about from the franchise tag, or if they tagged him again, it's too late now, the 12.1. And the question you have to ask is, if you bring him back, are you going to say, and the Cowboys, knowing them, they'd say, okay, we're done. Okay, we got running back. We can scratch that off. Because ultimately, if you're talking all in, I got no problem bringing back Tony Pollard for about $5 million. And if you could bring in a Derrick Henry for about $6 million, I'd be okay with that. 6 or 7. When you think that you spent $10 million on Tony Pollard last year by himself, if I can get Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard, hey, I'm ahead of the curve. And I'll put in here things that the Cowboys can do to make their situation better beyond just doing Dak Prescott and Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb's contracts. If they have somebody who wants to trade for Trey Lance, and I know that a lot of people will say, well, damn, they'll look down the road and say he ended up becoming a really good quarterback. That may be the case, but everything you do in the NFL is at risk. But you have over $5 million sitting there in his contract for this year. If you trade him, that goes away. And if you can get some draft compensation, you're almost doubling up on getting 2 players, because $5 million is enough to get a good free agent. If we're talking about, say, Eric Kendrick, who was just cut by the Chargers, basically he's averaged $5 million a year in his contracts over the years. And so this is a way of trying to look forward thinking, of saying, how can I get the most players on this roster and the biggest bang for my buck? That's one of the ones that they could do. So we'll see if Tony Pollard is back in the fold. If they bring him back and don't do anything else, then they're doing themselves a disservice, because you need a between the tackles running back to go with Tony Pollard. And that's the mentality that they need to have. And thus far, it sounds like the Cowboys are interested in just rolling everything back to where it was. They thought for sure they were going to have Dan Quinn. And they ended up finally getting a coaching job at the last minute. They thought they were bringing back Tyron Smith. And they keep getting surprised by moves that are made by others. So we'll just have to kick around and see what we see. But at the moment, I don't see anything different than what we've been doing. All right, good people. I will see you soon. Peace.